There's the camera audio.
There we go.
The camera audio sucks.
Got you.
There we go.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to What Drives Us, episode 391 for November 18th, 2020. My name is Russell Frost, and I am your host for this evening's journey into amazing technical things. Got to change it up sometimes. Let me introduce my co-host, Mr. Tony Schaefer.
Hey, everybody, and happy November 18th. That's pretty much all I got.
Cheers. Well, then let me introduce my other co-host, George McKenzie.
Hey, beautiful people. Thank you for joining us.
Always wonderful. On apparently now working audio, our friend of the Mid-Atlantic region, Mr. Casey Green.
What's up? I'm just a few minutes further south, 15 minutes from my previous location. Much more space. But
you're 15 minutes away from the camera too.
I was in a crunch to get everything running in time, so we did the test of life from an iPad, and now my computer is furniture is next to the TV. I'm on her TV, and I'll see if I can't find the Zoom in the middle of the show for you.
It's very nice that your wife is sacrificing the television for us. Thank you.
Because my TV is over there on the floor, and somebody's misplaced my TV mounts. One of us. Don't know which one.
It wasn't me. And speaking of someone who's never misplaced knobs, our friend in Canada, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. We're already disjointed, but we'll get it together at some point. Don't worry about it.
I think probably about show 450, we're going to get it together. Somewhere around there. And last and certainly not least, the founder and owner of Boulder Hybrids, Mr. Paul Guzik.
Yo, what up? I got another beer. What else do you do?
Another beer. Just some random nameless beer. Right on.
This one is Mothership Wit.
Very nice.
It's pretty good.
I feel like this is a Monty Python sketch, and Casey, what are you using, a drone to follow you?
No, 4K punch in.
Nice. Very good. Well, let's start off the show, oddly enough, with a news story from me. Ooh, how odd is that? I want to talk about, this comes from The Information, which of course doesn't let you read the whole story unless you are a subscriber or you join, and I'm not a joiner. So nonetheless, the headline reads as such: Amazon plans for rural deliveries amid Postal Service problems. Now there's a lot to unpack there. Postal Service problems. Well, Amazon's done really well with the USPS up until now. I don't know if the DeJoy issues have slowed them up. Amazon also likes to own everything. So the idea that they're planning for rural deliveries is a very interesting strategy. Obviously, that's a lot of money that the USPS wouldn't get. Bummer for them, bummer for us in general. But I have to wonder if Amazon really appreciates the scope of rural deliveries. It's one thing to do things on a route from distribution centers within certain number of miles from them. It's another thing to say, we're going to deliver to every address in the country. That is a wholly different task. I'm not saying Amazon's not up to it. If there's any company in the world that's up to it, it is Amazon. But it's interesting, and I'm curious to see what systems they roll out for this and how much money they're willing to invest to make it happen. That's all I got.
Yeah, from this article and then from other readings I found online, it sounds like Amazon is planning on major distribution centers around the United States, local distribution centers located at least one per state, and then rural distributions for the last few miles within the outlying areas. Now, if that seems rather familiar, the model it seems that they're basing this on is the United States postal system. So yes, we kind of already have that. Thank you, Amazon. What's next?
Well, and Amazon already has that. They have
Well, not
distribution centers.
but they don't have the rural. That's the thing. That's the part that they want to plug in. They want to plug in the super rural, like you said. Every um, every address in the United States, and they currently count on the United States Postal Service for the outlying areas, and and then their own deliveries and gig deliveries for major areas. I don't know. I hope that the United States postal system never gets privatized. It's the biggest last bastion of something in this government that actually works, is affordable. It cost me 50 cents to send a letter from coast to coast, almost guaranteed it's going to get there. And if it's privatized, who knows how much they're going to charge just because they can. And we've already seen that. All of these privatize everything proponents say that, well, competition drives down cost. I've yet to see that happen.
Especially if you
Didn't
live
wo-
in like the middle of Nevada where there's no people, no roads, and
Yep.
only the post office delivers there now.
It didn't work with the airlines, and I mean, where right now it costs you what, $2 or less to do international mail? I mean, like you can send mail from Alaska to BFE, bottom of the world, somewhere, Antarctica, the space station. It doesn't matter. It's cheap as hell.
Right. I mean, that literally is the one thing, and that the Postal Service has going for it, and it's as old as the country itself. I mean, didn't Benjamin Franklin introduce the postal system, set it up, Postmaster
Yes.
General? I mean, come on, it is as American as America. Leave it alone.
Well, I'm of two minds on this one, in the sense that I agree with Tony fully. And there is never a good reason to trust a billionaire with your public infrastructure, ever. I can say this as a person who's worked for government and watched a lot of public-private partnerships that really, in the end, benefited strictly the private and never were the great savings or the great solutions that they were presented as. The other thing we need to fear is that Amazon is notorious. Its whole business model was taking massive losses until it could drive out the competition, whether it was brick and mortar bookstores, brick and mortar stores, and even small creators like who used to go to Etsy. So it lowers it will take a complete loss, and they have the pockets to take a massive loss. And then once they are the biggest player on the field, actually raising the cost to match what the real costs are and to have their profit. So right now the USPS does not make a profit by intention. It makes more than enough to pay for its costs. It's only being screwed because of a congressional move back, I believe, under Reagan, but can't guarantee that I'm
It
right.
was in the 1980s. It was under the Reagan administration that forced them to prepay pensions, something no other company or government entity is ever
Like
even considered
50,
required to
60
do.
years in advance.
70
they have to
years.
Yes.
70 years
Yeah.
in advance. So
Yes.
literally, I was too young to even know it, but I knew that sounded silly. But then I was a kid who didn't trust Reagan, and even now it's sillier, and it's still not fixed. The post office is a well-functioning machinery, and all you have to do to test that out is watch UPS throw your package under a bush or something, or the delicate ministrations of FedEx when they kind of frisbee your fragile, important package that you paid $30 for onto your step, which I've seen all three, and frankly, give me USPS every time. But now here's the but. For many rural areas, jobs, and that's why it's seductive. The ability to stay in the area they want to stay in and to provide a support service, that's going to look very attractive to your municipalities. I can, again, speaking as a person who's worked in government, these are very, very, very smart people with degrees and specialties who reach for the easiest, dumbest, most
Just like the stock market, quarter to quarter. They don't care about the long term.
yeah, every quarter to quarter, and they come up. They can be easily fooled by bait, and this is good
Mhm.
bait.
That's bait.
So capitalism is capitalistic bullshit forced on into your government is just it's like cocaine covered chocolate for most municipal people, and
Is that
getting
good?
them to say no to it, no, and is the hard part. So I can see where it would be very nice in the rural infrastructure to have this as a job hub, but there's just so much danger in giving Amazon any control over how our packages and mail is delivered that it's one of those 10% not poison is just not enough for me.
Right. And we know the
Privatize
switch is
the
coming.
profits and socialize the costs.
Losses.
Yeah, yeah. The Walmart is the same way. It's the same playbook. And I witnessed this in my hometown. Small hometown, Main Street is where everybody went to buy everything. If you needed clothes, you knew what store or stores to go to. You knew the people who owned those stores. You went to school with their children. And then Walmart comes in, they plant their big box store just outside city limits, probably got tax incentives to do so. They come in and flood cheap products, drive the small businesses out. And then guess what? Just like Georgia said, prices started going up again, and there's no recovery. There's no recovery from that. This is a slippery slope that we need to try to avoid.
One other thing I want to mention before we move on is Amazon also announced this morning that they are going into the drug business. Yes, Amazon Pharmacy is coming
Right. Yeah.
somewhere. Why? Because they want all the money.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
Right.
Come on down to the company store.
I do like
Yes.
their pill service, whatever. You have like 3 different prescriptions. They'll pack them into little packets that you take a morning packet, an afternoon packet, and that kind of service
Are
is
they
pretty cool.
paper or are they plastic or
Plastic.
foil?
I'm sure they're fully landfillable.
How old
But
am
they
I?
mail you like a month's supply at a time, and you take the Monday morning packet of all your prescriptions. And they already own that business, so it kind of makes sense that they would sell all prescriptions.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I think the big takeaway here is this is a huge undertaking, and that it's never good when one billionaire controls everything.
When headed to trillionaire, we don't need the trillionaire.
Yeah,
Right.
we don't need that. Let's go to our next story, and for that, I got to go back over here. There we go. For that, I think we are going to Georgia for some well-deserved mocking.
Well, continuing in my theme of God billionaires, why are you so dumb? The Virgin Hyperloop just completed its first test with actual passengers.
Woo!
It's
They went
2
600 miles
passengers.
an hour.
Yeah, they
600
went really
miles per
far,
hour.
really fast.
Yeah, it's a maglev, advanced high-speed rail. It only reached 100 miles per hour on the track rather than the 600 mph that was promised. And Virgin's like, but it's only 500 meters long. How many millions did you guys spend to go 100 miles per hour and only 500 meters long? Oh, $500 million. So it was only $1 million per meter.
So if it could have done the full speed, would the humans have been able to survive?
Yeah.
The start and the stop.
Maybe the acceleration, but not the deceleration at the end. I think that would have been rather sudden.
That would have been
Called
hard.
splash.
That's a splash. But now I'm going to say that as everybody is looking at all this kudos, and I know that Tesla, well, the Boring Company, Elon's other thing, has his Hyperloop project. I'm going to point out one very simple thing. Shinkansen the Japanese bullet train has been around for 50 years. So before we all high five on that very expensive test run of the Hyperloop that didn't go as fast as was promised anyway, why are we this far behind? We are 50 years behind Japan. We've never put any effort into high-speed rail. And every time we try to update our rail systems and go with new technology, it's always turned down as being too expensive. And then the next time it comes up that our rail systems are falling apart and they're not as fast as other countries, and it's limiting the ways people can travel to work, and also sustainability efforts to keep cars off the road, we see the price tag. It's even more than the last time we turned it down. You know what, geniuses? Before we do any more of these genital measuring contest projects for billionaires, maybe we can put that money into an actual public rail system and upgrade those. And for once, when we look at the price tag, go, yep, that's what it's going to cost now because we wasted so much time. This is stupid. And yet, somehow I predict we're going to see more stupid as we move further along in this decade, because it's not that the years become stupid, it's just that we never get any smarter. So good going, you guys. Congratulations on 100 miles per hour, 500
and the Virgin Loop is like in the middle of the desert. It doesn't
middle of nowhere, goes nowhere.
Well,
It
guys,
carries
went
two
from
people.
like Times Square to Wall Street, but it goes like nowhere.
guys, I do
You know
have to
what?
point out that this is a test. You know, they
I
built
know.
a half kilometer track in the desert where land was cheap, and they were able to perform the test. This is not the end goal here, to transport two people 100 miles an hour for 500 meters. That's not the end goal. This is just the test, and this allows them to move forward. Like everything else, that's a new
500 million in the middle
technology.
of the desert. What's it going to cost in a real place?
But again, once you get the tests down pat and you start to move the thing forward, things get better. You can't just jump from 0 to 600 miles an hour with the new technology. You have to take the steps to gradually bring it into place.
How much does this compare to the in price to the Vegas tunnel? They can do 200 miles an hour.
I have no idea. But again, this is new technology. They're trying. This is what they've invested in. This is what they believe is the future. And of course, I applaud them for trying. I applaud everyone for trying something new, because if we stayed with the old stuff, we'd be still living in caves.
Now, okay, Mark, I'm with you there. Right? That was the first thing I thought. The first thing I thought was they only reached 100 miles an hour and they only did half a kilometer because this was their Kitty Hawk, right? You know, the Wright brothers flew for all of like 17 seconds, and that was earth-shattering. But now imagine the Wright brothers, South Carolina, jumping up and down because they flew for 17 seconds. And then they look up and there's a Japanese airliner with a contrail flying overhead. That's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah,
there are countries with high-speed rail right now.
There can be leaps forward if you take on new technology. Maybe this is not it. Maybe it's wrong. But I applaud them for trying to jump over what is currently available. They believe they have something to this. Obviously, they've sunk a ton of money into it themselves. They believe that there is something to this. Let them try.
As long as it's their money.
Yeah.
As long as it's their money.
So with this and them being the first Hyperloops with people on it, how, with the way that the other Hyperloop guy is Mr. Musk, they invented it, he's saying that all of his
whatever.
All of his boring tunnels.
Argue that.
All of his boring tunnels, he says they can become Hyperloops. Do we think that he might do a fake, like, hey, there'd be a tunnel, we expect there to be cars in it, and it's actually the Hyperloop?
Oh, come on.
No.
Maybe.
And
no tunnel with a turn is going to be a Hyperloop.
This is true. The turns have to be like a mile in radius.
Turns kind of suck. Yeah.
And I think the debut this week of the the Vegas tunnel has sort of splashed a little cold, wet reality on that whole concept, that we're going to have cars driving through there at like 35 miles an hour with about 20% of what the
Again,
contract
walk
required.
before you run.
But okay, let me tell you.
Stop.
Let me tell you the one thing.
Wait. I want to walk
Okay.
before you run is fine as a research project. And I get that we've given all these billionaires all of our fucking money so that they can go to space and they can invent the Hyperloop and they can do all this. But in the meantime, all of that money that they're blowing on their ego bloated projects could have been spent on high-speed rail that's affordable and doable and that could be helping millions of people right now. Could have been spent on a fucking subway that was invented 250 years ago that is affordable, doable, and could be done already.
Actually,
Instead,
it's not affordable because
Yeah.
they bidded on it in Las Vegas and they said, no, it's too
They
expensive.
lost.
Can't do it.
So there's one plus side to the individual car thing, is that right now in the middle of the plague,
there's no plus side.
you're not sharing a massive car with strangers. You're stuck with your family unit in your car.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's
Well,
interesting.
I
Here's
was-
the part about the Hyperloop that really excites me. And,
Uh-huh.
and I'm dead serious about this. We pay truckers, a decent sum of money to put a lot of pollution across the United States to follow the interstates from coast to coast. Wouldn't it be freaking awesome if we had Hyperloops, and they didn't even need to be Hyperloops. Let's just say rails that moved the shipping containers and just autonomously move them across rails, and then they just
It's
diverted.
we could invent
where
this
they
thing called a railroad.
Intermodal
Yes.
railroad.
See? Exactly.
We
Just
just
like
So
that.
why is everybody moving away from freight rail? Is what happened in the last couple of years that made it so unappealing? Is it time
The
plans? Is it
supposed
fuel?
to be
the last
unappealing.
25 miles of delivery takes forever. That's the problem with rail.
But isn't that what the containers are for? Take it off the train, put it on the truck.
Again,
Yeah,
they have to be put on a train, amalgamated into a train that's going west or east. Then they come to another spot where they're unloaded, put it onto a different train to head north or south, and then they get to a place where they're unloaded and put on trucks. All those stops add time to the delivery of the packages.
Can we take the
Train
oil
is-
pipelines and shove intermodal containers through those, and then still have that last 25-mile issue?
No.
No.
You're not going to be able to
Pipelines
put
aren't
it
big
in an oil pipeline. That's not going to work.
Not
No.
the 8-inch one, the big massive one that
I don't
That
leaks
care how
everywhere.
big it is.
Yeah, that was a
They're
James
already-
Bond movie. That's not the way we're going to get
But they're
furniture
already
across.
lubed on the inside. Is that where you're going with this? They're already greased.
Well, I respect Mark's point. I agree that, yeah, we do need to take these steps. My issue is that these are not steps onto new ground. And that's where my mocking comes from, because it would be one thing if we were talking a real groundbreaking step. And it's not that I don't respect the technology and the integration of varying types, because this is actually a very interesting Hyperloop project by itself. It's just that for the cost and the time and the way how we treat our infrastructure, it just looks incredibly foolish on top of, not necessarily accomplishing where we want to go. But I agree. And frankly, yes, if it's just their money and no municipality had to put money into it because that's out of taxpayers' pockets, then I'm all for it. Go fritter it away, do whatever the hell it is you want. But as far as it, for me, to be considered groundbreaking, this is, it is groundbreaking in the sense that we have the basic beginnings of something. And that's where I'm going to leave it.
It's interesting they went with the maglev when everybody else was going with some sort of rail.
Maglev was pretty much necessary for the Hyperloop.
For the
For
speed.
the
wheels would
ultimate
just slow you
speed they
down.
want to go.
Yeah, for ultimate, yeah.
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 I guess that means they don't have to change
Otherwise,
tech
it's
in the
just
middle.
rail.
Rail in a vacuum.
Right.
Oh, in a vacuum, which
A partial
Even-
vacuum, actually.
why not put
Yeah.
rail underwater? I'm just kidding. That's a joke. And no. Okay, enough of that. Enough of that. Let's go to Tony and talk about a brand new EV from one of my favorite car companies, just because I like saying it, Tata.
Yes, Tata. So I found this, this popped up on my thing, and I'm going to share the screen here. Yeah, so, I first learned about Tata Motors with the 1 lakh Tata, was it Tata Nano? That's what it was. I had Mini in my head, Tata. And this is the Nexon EV. Now, Tata already has the Nexon, and they put it out in multiple different models, but this is now the Nexon EV. So I did some size comparisons, and the Nexon is slightly larger than in some dimensions,
Is it
a
like
little
a
larger than a
CHR?
Chevy Bolt, and
gonna ask that.
smaller than a Honda CRV.
I was going to say
So-
it looks a lot like a Kona.
Yeah.
Kona, I'm
does.
thinking that the CHR with that
Yeah.
styling.
Yeah, and then down here, so we have the 360. So it's not an unattractive car. I think this is a pretty good looking car. I like the colorings, at least the rendering they have here, the different colored roof. And if you go inside, let's see, go inside here. It's now it's not the most luxurious car ever. It's meant for mass appeal, but you can see it does have Apple CarPlay, and
That's just a
it's
sticker on the.
yes. I mean, cloth interior. I mean,
It
of
looks
course
nicer than my first car.
it's made to be affordable, and you can see the fins for the heated back window, and I always have a hard time navigating these internal things.
And
Speakers
how
in the
much is
back.
it selling for in dollars?
So yeah, so there I had to do some comparisons here. Let me cross out of this here.
Push button start.
So yeah, let's see.
And
So
what is powered by Ziptron?
anyway, the way
mean?
I found it was on News 18,
Ziptron.
which turns out is an Indian news thing. So everything is in Indian rupees in lakhs. So 13.99 lakh Indian rupees, I found out, is about what is that? 18,800 US. And then it goes up to
Pretty good.
16.25 lakh rupees, which gets it into the 21,000. India does have have some incentives, just like in the United States. So I wanted to just kind of go through here and some of this stuff, because I mean, it's 0 to 100 kilometers in 9.9. It's not the peppiest thing ever, but
The Prius.
yeah, I know that's pretty much Prius. It's got India's first 5-star rated platform, and connectivity, charging. They talk about the battery, the motor here, and then there's an app that you can connect with it, and then steps through the different safety, reinforced body structure, the liquid cooled battery. It does have dual airbags in the front, anti-lock braking system, corner stability control. I mean, it's not lacking as a car.
Looks like a cheaper Nissan Leaf SUV,
It kind of is,
but with liquid cooling for the battery
but with
instead of
liquid
just
cooling, which
wishing,
means,
hoping.
yeah, hopefully better battery management.
Yeah.
And we've said this several times. If we want the world to go battery and get off of internal combustion engines, I mean, we have to hit every country and every market and every affordability. And if Tata can convert the Indian market and then expand even from there, this is potentially a huge thing for not just India, but for overall, global emissions. So
Well,
I was kind of
especially
excited to see it.
If it would meet U.S. standards and be a $19,000 car, that would be huge.
But
Yeah.
Tata owns Land Rover and a couple others. They can pass a U.S.
Mhm.
crash test if they want.
Oh yeah, easily. And I mean, it would be a great, I think we were talking last week about, teenager cars and, your first car. This would be a great first car. It's got the connectivity, it's got some bells and whistles, but it's certainly not a high-end, car. This would be perfect for, getting your 18 to
So
22
the
year old.
teenagers would be saying nice Tatas.
Nice Tatas. Woo. There it is. Show title. Right
No,
there.
don't think that.
Nice Tatas.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
If you're a household with two of them.
There'll be no
Right.
advertising money on that one.
Nope.
That's okay.
So
I'm only talking
wanted to
about
talk
cars.
Yeah. So I just thought that was a great thing when I saw it, and the more I researched the Nexon, I realized it's a solid car that they're now converting to EV. Like I said, they've been selling the Nexon for years. This is just now an EV version. So
30
And
kilowatt battery.
How real is the EV?
Oh.
Like when's it
So
gonna ship?
literally a Nissan with liquid cooling.
no, like you can buy it now, and on the site. You
In
can,
India.
In
Yeah.
India.
Yeah,
Right.
there's no
yeah.
plans to bring it to the US at this point.
Well, they put the steering wheel on the wrong side too. Like, oh, God.
Damn it.
No, they just inverted the picture.
Oh. So then the display is backwards then.
Ooh, they
'Cause
put
it
a
was
big
right.
flag.
It's a sticker.
Yeah.
It's
You
a
just have to
sticker.
drive holding a mirror. That's all. It's no
Right.
big deal. Well, we're going to go to Mark for This Week in Tesla in just a second. But before then, I want to remind you, if you haven't already, please go to youtube.com/whatdrivesus. Do hit subscribe. And you know what? Take a moment this week, just this week. Well, every week, but this week especially. We're close to 2,000 subscribers, and I would love to get us over that 2,000 in the next week. So maybe suggest it to a friend, post it on your Twitter feed, on Facebook. Say, look at these idiots. Go watch this show. Well, I'm the idiot. I guess the rest of everybody's okay, but as it were. So do go to youtube.com/whatdrivesus. Subscribe if you haven't already. And please share that link with your friends and ask them to subscribe as well. Mark Coughlin, I know that there was absolutely zero Tesla news this week. So you're just going to kind of high five me back right now, right?
What world do you live in, Russell?
That's you and my ex-wife all wonder that. I have no clue.
There's always news in the Tesla universe. It
Then
never stops.
Take it away, Mark.
It runs 24/7. And this week, we're just going to touch on 3 stories. Of course, I had to touch on this after the previous discussion.
Oh, no.
The Vegas Loop, which is now almost complete at the Vegas Convention Center. There was a proposal to push this out to the Strip, push it north and south, connect the airport, connect the hockey arena, connect Fremont Street. Well, it looks like Vegas is all in on this because now City Council has asked if they could add a few more stops to this, including a couple in the Arts District of Vegas. I didn't know Vegas had an Arts District, but apparently they do, and they'd like the loop to stop at these additional stations. So it certainly looks like they're going to be, or at least interested in moving forward with this and attaching it to some city assets. So we will see as this story continues along. We would expect there be some sort of I guess an opening of this in late December, early January. So that was the timeline, that was the contract. So we expect something to happen in late December. So we'll be watching. Next, the world's largest supercharger has just opened in I guess that would be Central California. Firebaugh, California, which is along the I-5, has opened a new 56-station Tesla supercharger. Previously, the largest was 50. They pushed it a little bit more just to have the title. Obviously, it is strictly a supercharger now. It does have solar, and it does have some battery backup, although I don't believe it has enough. I think that they will be adding to it. But it is solar now. There are a couple of battery units. And then the talk, of course, is that it's going to be blown out into a full stop with a convenience store, some sort of, obviously, food options, restroom options. Right now, I believe they opened it up early just because of the upcoming holidays that always pack superchargers between San Francisco and Los Angeles area. So they've now got another asset in that area to help people if they're on holiday travels. So good to see.
And having been to that town, I can attest that there's absolutely no reason to stop there other than for fuel, food, or bathroom. There is.
How about
nothing.
a scorpion bite? Would that be up there?
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
yeah.
But is it a ideal through town. Like you said, it's good for fueling, but where are the city pairs that are on the other sides of it?
There's no town there.
It's
No, not there, but on the other side that you
well,
would need to stop and charge.
kind of in the middle between LA and San Francisco,
Yeah.
but
So another
closer to
route to
LA.
do that.
It's a little north of Kettleman City, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Well,
So
there's
if Kettleman
nothing
is
there
full-
now, but there's nothing there now. But once the Hyperloop passes through, that's when it's really going to explode.
Yes. It'll be the new Las Vegas.
Okay, we'll just leave that there.
Wow.
Final one we're going to touch on this week is first pillar has been raised at Gigafactory, Texas, or Terra, Texas, as we like to call it on the Tesla Life Show. So the first concrete pillar has been raised, and construction at that site has now changed from a single shift to 24/7 construction. So they are now pushing how fast this is going to go. And there's some discussion that there could be an actual race to finish it between it and Berlin, which Berlin's much further down the line. Structures up. A lot of the buildings are over 3/4 complete. But they're saying that with this 24-hour construction that's being introduced in Austin, this factory could catch up rapidly to the Berlin one. That's
so Mark,
a
they
lot
have
further down the line.
three Bobcats.
At least seven. At least seven. So we'll be watching the progress on that as well. And if you would like updates to these stories throughout the week, feel free to follow us on Twitter at The Tesla Life, or tune into our weekly podcast, The Tesla Life show, which can be found on YouTube.
Always a great follow on Twitter. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Even if Mark is dead wrong about the Vegas mistake.
We'll
Let
find out next month.
Let me just go on the record right now. Yeah, this is going to be a big black eye. Okay.
We'll find out next month.
This is not going to. No,
Well,
we
guess
already
what?
know.
We are all going to find out together.
Yeah, we're all going to find out together, and I will.
And then there'll be a lot of finger pointing back and forth.
Either I'll be eating excrement on the show, or I'll be ignored.
That might get us. That might get us a flag.
Wow,
let's
talk
not
about
do that on the
ratings.
show.
As
Talk
a
about
metaphor, you sick bastards. A metaphor. I'm not going to literally eat excrement.
Casey is our fact checker for all of our jokes and innuendos.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's go to Paul, who has a feel-good story about a feel-good state, Colorado.
Well, actually, it's good and bad. So,
Damn it.
No, it's overall good. But
Okay.
I'm in Colorado. The predominant utility here is Xcel Energy, who I think is in 8 states from the Midwest
Yeah.
to the West. They're a big utility.
Yeah,
but
they are.
they did say they want to spend $102 million in Colorado building EV charging stations, which is kind of cool, right? Apparently, they had the law changed in 2019. So up until 2019, a utility could not own and operate a charging station. They felt that was a conflict of interest. So they basically did some shenanigans with the state PUC. And now they said, well, we're going to put in all these stations, and we're going to incentivize people to charge after hours and, promote electric cars. That's awesome. In the fine print of the article, they basically says, Xcel Energy has proposed an additional charge on customers' monthly bills, a rider to recover its costs. So what they're really saying is they're going to spend $102 million to put in EV chargers, but they're going to make everybody who's an Xcel customer pay for it. Which, again, is great to see more EV charging stations. Not so great for them to kind of sneak it in and get reimbursed to do it. But anything that makes it easier to own an EV is a good thing. The state itself says they want to have, in 2023, 5% of the vehicles available to be EVs. And by the end of by 2030, they want to have almost 1 million EVs in Colorado, which I find insane because our population is maybe 5 million, 6, something like that. So
Everybody
that's a
gets
ton
an
of
EV. You get an EV.
Yeah, you get an EV, you get an EV. But anyway, it is cool that utilities are seeing a business case in developing and deploying charging stations because they want to sell their electrons, and this is one other avenue to do it.
The only part of that I didn't care for was the chargeback. I mean, my previous utility company charged us $9 billion for a nuclear plant that we didn't get. They dug a hole in the ground and then they filled the hole back in and stuck us with the bill.
And you're still paying for it, yeah.
Well, not anymore. I left state.
Well, that's their business model. Is the PUC says, well, you can make this much profit. They say, well, we got to invest this much money in this infrastructure. They say, okay, well, you can charge a bit more to cover that infrastructure, and then they hopefully make money selling the energy to the users. But you know, as you can imagine, the utility has the right of ways. They know the permitting process. They can put in a charging station a lot quicker than any other private company can. They know how the game works, and they know where everything is, and they can grease things through their systems. So ultimately, it should benefit the consumer, but I'm not a fan of all the consumers paying for it.
Did they mention what they were doing for multifamily and off-street parking, or on-street parking, I should say?
They want to, you know, that's kind of vague, but they want to talk about multi-dwelling unit charging, and I guess eventually, like I know in Berkeley, California, they have street chargers that you park on the street and run. There's a post, you know, between the sidewalk and the street that you can run a cord into your car from.
Yeah.
So stuff like that would be cool.
I like that European
implementations.
Yeah, where you take your cord and plug it in.
Yeah, they literally have the plugs in the streetlights. You know, they're already powering the streetlights, and you just put a plug right there, and then now you can plug in your car. The only part that scares me about that is having, you know, my charger out and exposed for someone to steal or something overnight.
They'll lock to the car side, and you'll be fine.
Right, and then, but you know, you just unplug from the light, and then
now you don't have jump juice to get to work.
Of course, when you plug in your car, the street light goes dark, but they'll figure it out.
The street light dims. I don't know. But I thought, yeah, I mean, I saw this and I was like, this is a really great thing, and this is a really good thing. And the whole time I was thinking, well, you know, why is the utility alone paying for this? And then I saw, oh, right, they're charging it back. Okay, so everyone's paying for this.
They're not doing it to be nice. They make that profit.
But you know, in the end game, if you're a Joe consumer and you see all these charging stations going around, and say, maybe I should get one of these newfangled electric cars because I can plug it in everywhere in my neighborhood.
No more trips to the gas station. That's at the grocery store, my job, my house. Yeah. I'm good.
So, but it's sneaky how they're going to get it paid for. But they're big utility. That's what they do. They're sneaky.
Well, thank you, Paul.
Yeah. Well, I want to remind everyone, take a minute and say, if you want to make sure that you're reading all the news that we're reading and more stories than we can cover each week, make sure you check us out online. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/whatdrivesus. Leave comments, suggest news stories. Make sure you just like the page. And if you do use Flipboard as a news aggregator, make sure and subscribe to the What Drives Us magazine. To reiterate what Russell said earlier, if you've stuck with us so far and you haven't yet liked the video or subscribed to the channel, then please do that. And by all means, like the video. I mean, if you're already subscribed, like the video. It does help. It helps us get noticed, right? So YouTube analytics will see that and put us in front of more eyes. Won't cost you anything. Won't affect you in any way, but it'll really be a boom to us. And I do have one more question for everyone. Are you down with entropy? That's all I want to know.
I mean, I don't have a choice.
Well, on that note, let's go to the final story of the night. We're going to go back to Paul, who's going to tell us about something going on in Quebec.
I thought that was
me.
Mark. Yeah, why don't
we're going to have the Canadian? Sorry, we're going to go to Mark.
Sure.
the real Canadian.
Push it
not
to the guy in
pseudo.
Calgary, yeah, or in Colorado. He knows what's going on in Quebec,
From
doesn't he?
Vancouver.
Randomly
He's a
assigning
Vancouveran even.
stories. My
Well,
apologies.
The province of Quebec has recently indicated that they are going to move to getting rid of gasoline vehicle new sales by 2035. So they're joining New York and California with setting up a new car sales ban of ICE vehicles starting in 2035. So what's that? We got about 15 years added to today's total before new sales of internal combustion vehicles will be banned in the province of Quebec, the second most populous province in all of Canada. So here's hoping that some other provinces come on board and push for that date as well, or earlier, and maybe some more of the CARB states follow California and New York as well. And with that, we'll all be breathing a lot easier.
It would be nice.
Now,
And,
one
I mean,
thing
the
that I
big the
think,
big problem is Quebec is it's damn cold up there, right? Like, so
Yeah, and we all know that EVs don't work in cold weather, so there's
Right.
certainly going to be a problem.
No, actually, I was going to address
they're going to
that
have a
because I was
gas
going to.
engine heater, an internal combustion engine to heat the cabin.
Kerosene.
Right. Well,
Kerosene.
see, this is I was actually going to say that because the one advantage that Canada has over the United States
maple syrup.
is maple syrup. Yes,
It's true.
right. And in
Actually,
addition to the
Mark-
maple syrup,
I'm here for maple syrup.
Mark, don't many parking lots already have outlets to plug in your engine block heaters?
In colder climates like Winnipeg, the prairie provinces where it's a windswept area of northern Ontario, they also have block heater as standard equipment. That would be like a 120 volt, but it's enough to run a block heater. So yes, in some colder climate cities that does exist.
So yeah, so at least when you're destination charging, where parking lots already have these poles to plug in a block heater and whatever, you already are wired with poles to plug in a battery.
I'll let you know what the biggest push that Quebec is doing this is because Quebec has a tremendous amount of hydroelectricity available to them. They have tons of dams
Those
and
sneaky
water.
utilities again.
Yeah, they have a renewable resource at their fingertips. So much of it, they sell it to the United States and other provinces. They have a huge surplus, and this would eliminate purchasing oil from anywhere. If they could switch their transportation system to electric, all the money could be kept in the province, which of course helps the people of Quebec. So that's what's driving this, I'm sure.
It's interesting that everybody's picking 2030 or 2035 for their ban abroad in the whole world.
Yeah. Well, people have to realize that you can't just shut an industry down without some serious consequences to the people that work in those industries. If you give them a heads up of 20, 15, 25 years and let them know this is where we're going, start preparing, start switching, start making plans to move some of your resources. It certainly makes sense.
Well,
Yeah, it's just that
I think with the technology, like EVs by 2030 are probably going to be cheaper than gas cars anyway. So no one's going to want a gas car.
Yep. And in addition to that, they started with trying to do 2040, and then some countries said 2035, and all of a sudden everybody's doing 2035, including that one that was doing 2040. Yeah, we're just going to move it up a little bit.
Right, but even then, we're looking at new sales, which means there will still be internal combustion engines on the road for 10, 15 years after that.
Yeah. But like Paul said, at that point, it will be more expensive to maintain and fuel. And so at that point, it would be only people who can't get that initial bump over
your
new
gas
used
car will be like your 67 Camaro you drive on
or that,
in the summer.
Yeah, or you can't get over the initial outlay to handle a new or late model used car. So it'll be interesting to see how they get those last few percentage points if that's the case. Like literally, all I can afford is a $500 car to get me through the next 6 months so I can get the next $500 car.
Yeah.
And the word to fix that, Tata.
The word of the day.
Well, thank you, Mark. And thank you, Paul. Even though it wasn't your story, I tried to shove it onto you. So thank you, Mark. And yeah. Interesting.
A connection to Canada that through
yeah. I've been to Quebec. But
I've been to Canada once.
Nobody wants me to talk. So I'm going to just going to mumble. No. Let's do some shout outs and go home. I want to start with Mr. Casey Green.
So right before this, I put out a couple of shorts on YouTube, and I'm working on my deep dive into Tesla Update 2020.44 series. You can catch that at youtube.com/Casey Green. That's KACEYGREEN. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Green.
Also, sorry. Now that the computer's up and running, once I put it where it belongs, I will be starting on a towing with Tesla video that I never finished from a year ago. Now that I've towed with Tesla again for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing all your new videos.
Casey, what can you share with us the city or state your safe house is in?
I went from Fairfax, Virginia to Prince William County, Virginia.
No. Paul, he just broke security. What?
I gotta move again. Damn it.
Now he's got to pack up and move again.
The poor FBI guys are tired of packing those boxes, man. God. Okay, Paul, you do your shout out now.
Well, speaking of witness protection program, a little geography lesson, nothing to do with EVs, but if you want to live in the most gated community in America, look up Point Roberts, Washington.
Yes.
Because you can't get to there from America. It's connected to Canada.
We
And
surrounded
rumor
it and
has
haven't been able to route them all out yet.
it's 5 square miles of America that is not attached to America.
Wow.
And anyway, little stupid trivia thing.
That's got to be real fun right now with the Canadian border closed.
Well, that's the problem is the people who live there can't go to get medicals or go to school because
they're not a full town. They don't have everything they need for self-sufficiency.
So the closest like K-12 school is in Blaine, Washington, which the students have to cross 4 international borders a day to go to school and back. 2 to get to school and 2 to get back.
Wow.
So
that's gonna be real tough right now.
They're running boats across the channel.
And if you really want to have fun, go to Google Maps and do street view of that area and see what the border is. It's a ditch. That's it. It's fun to watch.
Isn't there one in Alaska like that too, up in Canada?
Oh
It's a
yeah.
ditch.
Yeah.
It's a ditch.
Yeah.
They have a border. They have a customs building now.
Yeah, they do. But if you go to the end of the Canadian street, you see a ditch, and across the ditch is the United States. That's it. There's nothing in front of you, blocking you, nothing.
Don't step across it.
No big wall.
Ditch
Nope.
bros.
No wall.
Keep the Canadian. Anyway, so no shout out other than Boulder Hybrids. We fix cars, we sell cars. Check us out.
There you go. Boulder
Go to Point
H.
Roberts, Washington. BoulderH.com. Sure.
.com or boulderhc.com if you prefer for your repair needs. Mark Coughlin.
I'll just indicate, as Tony did, if you haven't given this a like, do it now. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. That's all.
Please do. Thank you, Mark. And do follow Mark at the Tesla Life on Twitter. If nothing else, just to make fun of him. Because that's what I do.
Because that's what Russell does.
No, that's what I do with Patrick Connor and OEVA. That's a different thing. Speaking of people who don't make fun of others, George McKenzie.
I make fun of you.
You do all the time, actually. Yeah. I'm a liar. Newsflash.
But yeah, thanks for joining us. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And also, happy Thanksgiving next week. Eat what you eat. But you know what? Just take a little moment to actually go, there are things I'm thankful for. 2020 may have sucked, but it wasn't that bad because you're still here.
Yep. remember to be extra safe with your loved ones out there right now, because if you can avoid going to see them in person, probably should consider it.
It's called Zoom or Skype or
Yeah.
Google Hangouts, Discord. There are multiple ways to have a nice time and see the people you love and chit chat with them. But you know what you're not going to do? You're not going to go to their house because you don't want to be sick and you don't want to make them sick. It's a mutual love and appreciation from a distance kind of festivities.
Yep, I want to see Grandma again in another couple holidays, so I don't want to waste it right now. I mean, we're not sick that we know of. You never know.
And in addition to COVID, by not seeing your loved ones face to face, you may save your life from a brawl due to political differences.
Yes.
It's a lot easier to hang
I
up.
don't have that problem. I recognize my privilege.
And all the emissions of making those travels.
Yes.
There you go. Georgia McKenzie, let's see. I think it's Tony Schaefer. Tony Schaefer.
Okay,
Bring
so
us home.
yes, I am going to share this because
Oh no.
because Paul mentioned it, and this is hilarious. So here is Point Robert,
Oh no.
Washington,
I'm gonna
and
zoom in.
yeah,
It's tiny.
I know. Yeah, I've got the Zoom people. Okay, so I wanted to get so I wanted to frame it right. So here's Washington State, right? Washington State. So it's way over
Yeah.
here. And it is on this little peninsula looking thing that drifts down. Whoever drew this line, now I'm all for straight lines, don't get me wrong, but for the love of all that is right and holy, of all the, it goes, look at this, it goes all the way over to here and then cuts this little peninsula off. So yeah, these poor people are literally isolated
They're
over
stranded.
here.
Their fingernail hanging
stranded.
down from Canada.
It's just like, that's hilarious.
It's like they were cutting a frisket and it's all X-Acto now.
Well, back in the day, they drew the line at the 49th parallel.
Okay,
They
so it was
didn't realize
mathematical.
that it went through this little peninsula. They could have just dipped down.
They easily could have dipped down. It's like someone, a cartographer somewhere said, hey, watch this.
Yeah. For hundreds of years, people will be cursing me.
Yeah.
It's like Boundary Dude. Who hurt you in Point Roberts, Washington?
Yeah.
Why do you hate them?
But rumor has it there are many people in witness protection there because the bad guys can't get to Canada with a criminal record, and you can't get to Point Roberts unless you come from Canada. So your enemies can't get to you.
Unless your enemies are Canadian.
Now all the assassins are going there. Jeez.
Yeah. I can't even look.
It looks
I
really
can't even
boring,
look
to be
south.
honest with you.
Yeah.
I like
There's
that
nothing
square
there.
I don't
architecture.
know, but it looks it looks
Hey,
pretty-
Tony, I'll show you the ditch.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So while Mark is pulling up the ditch, I want to remind everyone, if you never want to miss a show, because this is fascinating stuff, you can find us on YouTube,
That's the
iTunes,
international
Stitcher,
border.
Slacker, and there is the international border. That's your wall.
That's the Trump fence, isn't it?
It's a wall. It's a
Yeah.
fence.
That is it. On the other side of this caution sign is the United States.
But what you don't see is the border guards on the Mounties and the our people on each side of that hedge.
So
there's a
path.
Oh, they didn't
path
even
on the left of
bother.
it.
They're somewhere in a coffee shop 20 miles away.
A three-board
Please.
fence and a bush.
Yeah.
That's it.
There's
a camera off frame.
down the road.
Yeah, but
That
there's
is a
thorns in
lethal
that bush,
bush.
Codwin.
But
Very
there's
lethal
literally a
push.
path on the left of the on the left.
There
of
is.
Best border ever.
Loaf
Point
of bread,
Roberts.
pound of sugar.
Well, no, they actually have an official border with customs agents and stuff. But that's
Yeah, but
the
this is
unofficial border.
this is someone's street that
Yeah.
borders that borders on the United States. Like, it's crazy.
That's literally awesome. Yeah, I love it. I have to
Wow.
move there just for that.
Just for that.
Well, there you go. Tony, is that
Right.
That's it. And
Okay.
in case, so I know I kind of like temporarily stopped the show there when I asked if you're down with entropy. So if you have not looked up MC Hawking entropy, yes, that is 4 minutes of your life that you will never regret.
We'll never get it back.
There
That
you
should
go.
be
Never
still
get
it.
it back in. You'll never get it out of your head.
Absolutely. MC Hawkins.
MC
Yes,
Hawkins.
it's
Yeah.
exactly what you think it is.
It is. It really is.
Well, I want to thank our panel tonight, Casey Green, Georgia McKenzie, Mark Coughlin, Paul Guzik, and of course, Tony Schaefer for an excellent show. I want to thank all of you for watching every week. Download us next week and find out what drives us.
I am moving to
See you in Point
Point
Roberts,
Roberts.
Washington.
Point Roberts, Washington. Yep.
Thank you. Good
Sassy.
night.